welcome back to the channel. It is Mark from Powersonic and Apprentice 1-to-1. Hopefully this works. I've forgotten the wind muffler. If it does, I won't be voicing it over. If it doesn't, you'll be hearing me talk over my mouth moving right now. Nathan's just behind me popping the bird guard on. We've actually finished this system. It's a really interesting one, and we're going to run through that with you guys on the channel with us today. I just want to say, if you are a customer who's looking for solar PV and battery storage, EV chargers, there'll be a link in the description where you can go off and fill in a contact form to get in touch with us, and it would be an absolute pleasure to propose a system in your home as well. We're seeing exceptional demand, and that is in no small part due to the YouTube growth we're seeing around all of our videos, and we're really, really grateful for that. So thank you to all of you who have subscribed and liked the videos, even if you have no intention of ordering a solar PV system. We hope it's useful for consumers and other installers as well. But we've got on this one 12 panels on each side. This one is an east-west split, not a north-south, as we have been doing most recently, and these are again the bifacial Trina panels, and we've got 12 on each side. They're all optimized, and that's for the rapid shutdown function more than any shading. There is a little bit of shading on the horizon in the winter months from both sides, so they will play a part in that as well. But really, it's just if there's a problem with any of the panels or something outside of the installation, they can be very quickly and safely isolated and not be a factor in any further problems on the building itself. They're on van der Waals mounting as normal. We've got a SigEnergy inverter, gateway and battery. And we've also got the SigEnergy EV charger, which is an interesting one. So we're going to get into a bit of that on this video as well. So let's jump down to the garage and we'll see what's going on down there. So we're popping our gateway up here, and you can see these are fairly lightweight. Matty is able to hang that on there. We need to secure it into the bracket as well, and that is just to prevent it from falling off the wall if someone was to knock or dislodge it. The bases now come with these feet, so you can adjust for easier levelling if you've got uneven ground. And most garages do slope off to the front, as this one did here, to stop water ingressing, so having those adjustable feet made it really easy to level up the system. They do also come with the Z brackets, so you can fix them into the floor and prevent any rocking or falling of your battery stacks. And the higher you go, the more important that is. As always, we're using our Proteus rotary isolators. These are 63 amp rated variety, and that enables us to isolate the power between the gateway and the Sargent store for any maintenance that's needed. You can see Nathan there popping the holes in the bottom of that, so we can take our wiring across between the gateway and the Sargent stores. We're going to use HO7, and again, this is 10mm. We always prefer HO7 because it's a little bit more flexible and gives you an easier time in setting up your cable routes. We've got all the side trims for the batteries that we need to pop on there to cover up all of the cabling on the battery stack itself, and then we can make a nice, neat, tidy job of it. The DC cables, as always, we need to make sure we're using the correct crimps, crimping tool, and MC4 connectors. These are the ones that come with the SigEnergy kit. As long as you make sure you get them clicked in and locked together, you cannot go wrong. But these are the things that often fail when they are incorrectly crimped or the wrong components used. And our AC isolators are just as important. We need those ferruled ends for our fine stranded cables, and they drop down on both sides to the kit. We do have this gas pipe in the mix. There is going to be an air source heat pump in here when the gas pipe can be gone, and along with the standing charge for that. There are some rules with gas pipes and distances from equipment: 25mm from cables and 150mm from electrical switchgear, unless you have got an insulating barrier. This gas pipe was already in and amongst the consumer unit and other bits and pieces in the wider install. We're all good in this application as we are, and the gateway there is ready to go. So we've gone for our SigEnergy charger on the side of this house. It's a little bit different the way this one wires together, and we'll go through it at the gateway because it'll maybe make more sense. But you can see here we've got our line sorry, our line, neutral and earth, and they go on these round pin connectors that you have to use. And there's not a lot of wiring space left in here either, especially on the 3-phase chargers, so you need to be really careful with that. We've used NYY to come down here just to try and cover that off. We've got our data cable, which goes into the front of the charger as you clip it on. And then we've got this other data cable here. Really should be Belden wire, your RS485s, but it's only a short length. It's absolutely fine. And that just connects to the pen fault MCB in the gateway, which we'll get to, because this does pen fault protection a little bit different. So the charger will see the pen fault and disconnect line and neutral, but it actually breaks the earth connection through a shunt trip. And we'll have a look at that in just a minute. But that kind of is it. It's bottom entry. See, we've got our cables coming out here. We're just going to neaten this route up so it looks a little bit tidier rather than dangling in the breeze. We'll see how that goes. But once we've got it all together, I'll show you it, because the front cover kind of sits over some of this as well. And we've come through a little bit lower just to try and give us a bending radius underneath so it's not a bit too tight. You could be a bit brave with that if you wanted, but with this being NYY and it's a bit more rigid than HO7, we didn't want to go too mad with that bending curve on there. You can see here they do come in the 3-phase variety as well, and you just need to make sure that you are leaving enough wiring room. You can't just kind of cram it all behind the front, or even in here. All this space is taken up with your charge point. I'll show you that actually. Matt is just busy in here wiring it up. So the charger itself, you can see here, it comes with one of your RFID cards, so you can just do your wavy to turn it on and off charge. And then if we look on the back of it, you can see it has that kind of bit that sticks out, and that's what's going to fill that, what looks like a space. There's your LAN port for connecting in the cable, and that goes into the SigEnergy store. So we're into the side on here. If I can get the gimbal to behave itself. Just level you back up. So it goes into the LAN port 2 basically on the side of here. So LAN port 1 is going off to connect to our gateway, and LAN port 2 is going off to connect to the EV charger. This is all hanging on Wi-Fi, but there is still a spare port in the gateway itself, which is up the top here. Should we want to bring a LAN connection to it all, you can still do that. You just have to change a few things within the settings. We've also got our shunt trip in here, so I'll show you that now. So this is the C40 shunt trip. Basically, you bring an earth in, which we've taken off the earth bar at the back of the gateway, and then your earth out to your final circuit comes off the bottom here, and then we've got 2 comms cables to the charger, and if that detects pen fault, it basically operates this to disconnect your earth while disconnecting the line and neutral in the charger. So you can see we've got our line and neutral here going into the breaker, and then we've got our earth there. And this is all common, so that's going to be your consumer unit. Backup loads, these can be your inverter inputs. This is off-label from SigEnergy, but it is exactly the same as if you was to wire it onto your consumer unit in terms of it showing as load in the system. So I don't see any reason why you can't do that, but just to set that out, we'll go through it a bit more later on. But I just want to show you how that quickly wired together. So this is the back roof, which is west-facing. Honestly, yes, it's west-facing. Just need to double-check where we are there. Doing that many proposals of late, we lose track. But we've got 12 panels up there. These are the Trina bifacials again, all blacks. Take you up a bit closer if I haven't already to take a look, but you can see from ground level, good distance off the sides, and the guys are just bird guarding them up, ready for the final touches. But they've come up well up there. And as you can see up on the roof on the other side, this one's the east-facing side. We've got the same panel, same spacing off the edge. It's dead centre and square in the roof. I'll get some drone footage if I haven't shown it already. It gives you the spacing off the edges for you all to see. It's always hard from ground level. I get questions of people saying, oh, you've gone over the ridge when you're looking from down here. It's just the angle you stood at and the angle of the roof. It often looks in ways it isn't. So yeah, that's the panels up there, and they look the absolute business. Dead flat, super straight, and they will be happily sitting there for many, many years to come. Plenty of hooks securing those down, so even in the worst of the weather, they're not going to be moving anywhere. Here you can see up on the roof, we've got a nice space off the edge again, equal each side. Nathan's just on with the bird guard. Matty's at the other side doing the rails on this dual aspect. These are the bifacials from Trina again. You can see the light through there, but you do get a reflected element. I'll just wait for Matty to finish cutting. There we go. Coming back off the underside. So it does all count. And at the minute, these are among the best value panels on the market. Panel prices are starting to go up again though. We're seeing already 30% going up on panel prices, and that's anticipated to go higher. So if you got in with your systems early part of 2025, I think you were at the bottom of the price in terms of panels, and we're going to be seeing these creep back to maybe where they were a couple of years ago. You can actually see a bit more of the reflectiveness on that top row. I don't know if you can see that there, but it's just the angle that we're at showing a bit more of that just there. It's where the sun is. Don't know if it's coming across on camera, but I can see it really well with the naked eye at the minute. And it just shows it does add a little bit on there. This is on Van der Valk mounting, and we've got our distances again. The clamp zone on these is, I'm going to say 290 to 375 for your clamps, and we've just managed to attain that. It really does depend on kind of where your tile spacings fall as to if you can get it within those on both clamping positions. You'll see a lot of content on YouTube and on social media where that's not been possible, and it's just the nature of the beast with these things. We can only try and get as close to that as we possibly can, and it just affects the wind loading of the panels from the manufacturer's spec if you don't quite get it. But you see we've got Van der Valk on there, we've got our end caps on, just running up this side, and Matt is just on the other side trimming the rails and doing that. We're using the Pest Fix guard. Before Nathan starts fastening that on, I'll just come and show you what that is. I've covered it before on the channel. You can see we've got a good distance down this edge, and it just goes on. Nice little clip, and then away you go. Really fast, working through the edges of the panels, no fiddling around, screwing twisty bits, and this will all be guarded up. It's just to stop those pigeons. We are actually going to put some spikes on the top of these ones as well. Some of the neighbouring properties have had birds living on top of their roofs, and then there's all the droppings that get on the panels as well. So the customer wants to make every effort to try and keep them away. So we're going to put a row of spikes on there as well. But yeah, that's this side. I will show you the other side as well, but it pretty much mirrors this east-west split on this one. And this should produce lots of nice, clean power for the customer to use for many, many years to come. So that's us done. We've got our consumer unit up there, which very fortunately has all the modern overcurrent protective devices that we need. And those tails have stayed existing in that cap in there. They're no longer on show. They do just drop up on the underside of here. With these SigEnergy gateways, they do need these glands in the bottom. So rather than sit it onto trunking, have to come in like that. And it looks absolutely fine. Even if you've got the trunking on there, you're still going to have the cable entries and glands coming into it. We've got our tails coming out through the wall. There's just a little loop there. And again, they're correctly insulated, adequately secured, and the meter box is straight through the other side of the wall. So I think that's come up really well. We've got our submain going down to the rotary isolator here, which is for the SigEnergy, which is living down there. We've still got to put on our trunking lid. PV cables come in at the top here, down into these isolators, and they then run off down into the SigEnergy. And the trunking finishes dead on the top of that. So once the lid's on, they'll look the absolute business. I'll get some footage of that when we're at that stage. I just wanted to show how we strip the PV Ultra out. So when you are in trunking, you can strip it back, and these cores are all identified now as 1 and 2. So it's really difficult to get them mixed up. And then when you're wiring into the isolators, you've got loads more flexibility and space. We usually bring our outgoing cables off the bottom side and the incoming ones in on the top side, unless we're entering top and bottom. But yeah, that's come up really well. And then the system down here, looking the absolute business, and that's all commissioned and online now. Inside the gateway, we've made some modifications, and these are kind of changes that you can make with the gateway. However, you need to remember the manufacturer's instructions for these, and we use them in a certain way that other people might not. But we've got our grid coming in here, which is basically bringing the supply from the electricity meter. We've got our house consumer unit, which connects into the backup port. We've then got our SigEnergy, which connects into this C63 breaker. We have also wired in our EV charger onto this inverter port here. Now that's a common bus bar. All of the CT measurements are up here in the top of the gateway, so it will still be seen as consumption. However, SigEnergy would prefer these 3 ports are retained for inverters. I don't see any issue with using them for an EV charger unless you're going to need to have 3 inverter stacks on one install. It serves the same purpose as going back to the consumer unit. We've also got the SPD here, and that's on the AC side. And then we have also got our pen fault protection for the EV charger. Now, we do obviously have the island mode air thing in play, but with these gateways, you can just have that set for when you are off grid, rather than being supplementary to the whole install. And we thought we'd just pop this in because it's there, it's not going to cause any issue, even with the fact that there is an electrode. If you get any voltages appearing on the earth, it will effectively disconnect that, and also the line and neutral from the charger. We've also got our Tigo power pack in here, and that's just running the rapid shutdown side of things. So we've made a little space. There is a DIN rail in the back of here, and open that up so we can pop those in. If they need to be reset, you can do that on the gateway itself. So we've got our SigEnergy EV charger. Might just pop in the solar PV on roof label in the meter cab. And these are really good. I like these a lot. There's loads of configurability in how you use them, and the app is super slick. I think it's one of the best out there on the market at the minute. Again, I'm just covering the microphone up because it's decided to get windy again. 7 kilowatt rated. You can do it where it'll go from just solar, or if you... I'll come this way because I'll get out the wind a bit then, I think. Or if you want, you can do it with a bit of solar and a bit of grid, or you can do it on a fast charge just from the grid. It's OCCP compliant, it does dynamic load management, so if you're worried about a submain down to a garage with it wired, for example, or if you are worried about the service fuse, you can cover all of those things off. The holster is super good. I'll have to stop talking because the wind will get you. But lift up, pull out, push in, push down, and then it locks into the cradle, and the little hanging bracket underneath down here just to take the weight off so it won't pull itself out. Basically, it's just carrying the weight of the cable. The app is super slick. It looks absolutely brilliant. You can do your time charging. It links back to a pen fault breaker, which is a little bit different to how some manufacturers cover it off, and I think that's just to satisfy UK regulations. So there is a breaker on the earth if it ends up detecting a voltage on there and will trip off and isn't automatically resettable. You can see it on the side here, got all the data on it, and when you're commissioning the system, I did do a little screen record. Whether I can show it or not, because it has all the customers' information when you're going through that, it just puts itself in there. It wires back to the SigEnergy store itself rather than the gateway, and then it just appears. There's nothing to really do with it. It just installs itself almost. Just to mention the wiring config while I remember, we're just talking about the Ethernet cables, if you like, your data cables. The SigEnergy inverter, so your SigEnergy store, needs a data cable up to the gateway, and that we put that in port 1 on the SigEnergy store and port 1 on the gateway, and then your second port on here goes off to the EV charger. Now, if you've got other stacks, you would have to chain your stacks together via data cables as well, so the SigEnergy stores connect to each other in those LAN ports, and then your EV charger would pull off one of those as well. You can put data into them. They're really flexible, so if you want to, I don't know, say you haven't got an EV charger and you want to put hardwired data in, you can do that on there. With our system here, if we was using a hardwired data connection, we'd have to bring that into the gateway. But the system kind of can share it in and amongst itself, whatever ports you're using. Is my understanding. This property has really, really good Wi-Fi, so we're just leaving it on that, and it's been very stably connected. And the SigEnergy Wi-Fi so far, touch wood, some there, I'll pretend touching it, I'll touch it in a sec, has been absolutely rock solid on all the systems we've been installing over the last few months. We do tend to try and put them on hardwired Ethernet connection, but the routers around the other side of the house, it wasn't a straightforward route, and as soon as you start using your power over Ethernet adapters, you're in the same realms of Wi-Fi dropping in and out anyway, so you're not really any better off. And that's just, again, experience from trying to do things like that now and then. So that is that in a nutshell. The Tigo scanning stuff is all here, so we need to scan them into the app now, and we can set all that up and tick another one off the list as job complete. So thank you all very much for watching. You can see I am up here on the roof again, and if you are a customer who's looking for a system like this, there'll be a link in the description where you can go off and fill the contact form in to get in touch, and it'd be an absolute pleasure to propose a system for you anytime, so please do fire those through. We do try and keep on top of all of those inquiries, and we're seeing really, really good, strong demand from lots of people finding this content on YouTube, which is really nice. Matty and Nathan have done a cracking job up here on the roof again. It is an absolutely A1 job. We've managed to get everything in the space as designed, and the system is performing well. So this customer now can make use of this solar generation for many, many years, and they've got a peak of just over 10 kilowatts in terms of generation. And that small battery module, say small, it's 8 kilowatt hours, can be scaled as time and budgets move along. There's also the air source heat pump that's coming onto this one in the future as well. If you've got any questions around the wider video, please do drop them in below. I always do like to engage in those conversations with any technical angles. I know we've had the little chat around the gas pipe in this video. And otherwise, thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.